call this meeting to order, and Ron, if you would take the roll.
Okay. Chris Daddy.
Here.
Chuck Neff.
Here.
Sarah Stevens Morley.
Here.
Megan Rockwell.
Here.
Rich Gessenberg.
Here.
Gregory Rosenblatt.
Here.
Sean Kimball. Jeff Solon. Vin Massiana.
Aye.
Jeff D'Onofrio.
Here.
And Dennis Rio.
Jeff
Oh, you
Sullivan
weren't?
will be here, he said, but he'll be late. He's
Okay.
Another meeting. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, any correspondence?
No, we have no correspondence.
All right, and we have no one here for public comment. And I have no specific chairman's report, but can't wait till next meeting. So moving right along, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, who's been playing around with all the numbers that we have, and will give us a report on where we're at.
So, first, everything we've got so far, we've done is all coming out of this AGC best practice document. So it's the American General Contractors Association. And, you know, what we're calling best value, it's really like a multi-step competitive bid. So we're doing a pre-qual right now. So the idea of pre-qualing them, as I said in the email, is everybody that's pre-qual is kind of on the same level firm, and then we do our evaluation of the quals and everything after that. Okay? We had to come up with a process of how to get everybody pre-qual. So, you know, we can shortlist up to 4. We don't have to shortlist 4, but the form was the best way to kind of come up with how we all kind of thought about it. So everybody filled out the form, got all the results for that. You know, what the best practice kind of recommends as far as evaluation of the non-price criteria is everybody kind of ranks it out, and then you go through, and any outliers you kind of identify, and everybody has a chance to kind of address those with like a final evaluation. So that's what we're planning on doing tonight. So I took everybody's scores from that. Look here. Yep.
Ah, now it all makes sense.
So everybody got in their evaluation. I kind of took all the scores for it, and I kind of come up with an average for each one, which is presented on this form. So we'll just go in alphabetical order. I don't know if you noticed, that's how the form was set up. So starting with Downs, the relevant experience and references section, we had 3 outlier scores from everybody else. So what I took as an outlier is anything that's like outside of the upper and lower bounds of the average. So the average score was 375 amongst everybody. Anything outside of 3 or 4 is I put down as an outlier. So everybody has a chance to kind of go around, and we're gonna have to go through all 6 of these for each of the 5 firms. So we'll just kind of go through. Sean's not here. You know, Dennis and then Megan, you guys kind of had the outlier scores. So any commentary you want to add there, and then if anybody else wants to add anything, you know, we just go ahead. So.
Well, I scored them poorly on that because we only listed 1 new build. Everything else was renovated as new plus additions. And then they also were one of the only firms, one other firm brought in consultants. So that kind of said to me that maybe they weren't a big enough firm to handle the job themselves, and that they had to bring other people in. That's why I marked that section low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ranked them on past experience. I've worked with all 5 companies. And with the 5, my experience with them is that they were by far the better value, if you will, when you compare quality to the amount of effort that it took to hold their aim.
Got it.
So
There
at
is
this
a
point-
danger in that, though, with ranking them based on experience versus what they presented, because we all don't have experience with them. We can only rank them based on what they having a clause, right? So like having them ranked high, you know, it could have been something based on the project and everything before there's what's in here. That's the idea of the qual package, right?
And I struggled to that point. I have experience with some of these, and I struggled to turn my brain off in my
Right.
memory banks
You can.
to go through this. And I put down, I actually put down scores based on what they submitted that I felt like I shouldn't, but I had to, because it didn't correspond necessarily with my experience, but I went with what they said. It's not easy though.
So at this point, people have an option of staying with the number that they put down, or if they make it.
Correct. When after we go through everybody, we're all gonna finalize a evaluation form, submit everything again, then we'll kind of take whatever that average part is, and we can shortlist off of that. So again, like, we don't need to rank the firms like 1 to 5. We wanna come up with, you know, anywhere from 2 to 4 firms that we think can all deliver like an equal product, and then they have a chance to kind of do that through the next process.
Or at least come up with an outlier that we think is maybe less than the others.
Correct, yeah. And just kind of keep running down the line here. Greg, you had it, you know, one way with a 5 on the team format.
Yeah, there were two things that I liked about them. One was the personnel for the two different schools. They were one of the two that had completely different personnel, almost no overlap. And also, they were the only one that had a separate student engagement liaison. So I was more impressed with their team than the others.
Anybody else want to add anything on any of the outliers here?
Yeah.
Yep.
I would. First of all, a comment on what Greg brought up. So I struggled with that also because I looked through our RFQ and I didn't see anything that said you are submitting for both schools. So the fact that they submitted 2 of the exact same team, as far as they know, they're saying if we get one of them, that's great, and we got our A team on it. Nobody told us we had to take both jobs, and therefore, I didn't think I could, because I started off doing that, and I gave the merits for ones that had the same team for both. And then I said, well, we didn't tell them that they're gonna get both, and we didn't even vote on the fact that we're definitely doing that yet. We may not, right? I don't think we have a determination, so the fact that they have their best, perhaps, the fact that they have one team and they're offering it up for either, I looked at that as, I don't know if that's a negative until we know that we're going with both. And I found it difficult, I was looking at this closely, I saw exactly what you're saying, but I had trouble taking points away from them because we didn't give them that information to say you needed to do that. So they might be like, listen, we have plenty of staff to handle one school, and it's the best staff we have, and here it is.
That took it
That might be
outside of
great.
depth, but you're right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I'm not saying that what you did is
Right.
wrong, but
Mhm.
I looked at
Right,
that too, and
yeah.
you know,
But I
it's
did
just-
ding the ones that used exactly the same all the way down.
I saw that as well, so.
Right.
Mhm.
So on this one though, I did just the opposite, and I pulled down on the team format, and I thought for them, well, there were a couple things. We asked for details on what services you provide in-house. And all that I saw on theirs was, here's a consultant for this, here's a consultant for this, everything else is us. And that, to me, that's not even a mild answer to the question, that does not give details. Okay, and I just thought that, and I was going by the letter of what the definition of the ratings were, whereas 3, even though it's fair, it says meets expectation, it meets the requirement. So to me, we asked for details, they did not give it, so that's why I'm an outlier saying it didn't quite meet what we asked. Trying to be black and white here with my approach.
And being the outlier isn't a bad thing. That's just kind of like to have a
Well, because you've got
conversation.
rationale.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we each have like a vote at the, on the island here, so.
Well, no, I like the outlier because there's a good chance they saw something I didn't.
Mhm.
And I actually like that, so.
The outliers get watched into the next with everyone else.
Yeah, I scored a 2 on the quality management. I just went back and looked, and I just felt that some of the other companies went into a great deal of detail, whereas theirs is a one-page generic piece that I thought you could write for any project, anything, and I just didn't feel that there was enough detail or specificity.
Anything else, anything else to add on downs? I'll just say, I thought everything was just kind of very plain, nothing really moving around, the whole package. There's, you know, thought it met the minimum requirements, but didn't go much beyond that.
That's essentially.
That's why I gave them 3 across the board, so.
Just to also, for transparency's sake, just to put something out there, I tried to be very neutral with everything and go with the definitions of the ratings. I have a project right now, it's under construction, Downs is the CM for it, and it's a school. So I don't know if I need to recuse myself from actual voting, but I'd be happy, I could testify on why I give answers to what I gave views.
Jeff can weigh in on it, but you don't have any monetary gain or anything on it.
I think Jeff has already commented on that. Didn't you run that by him?
I've run so many things by him.
Well, he'll remember.
He has no, there's no contractual.
No, but, you know, if for instance, you know, I had an axe to grind with them, just because of the way things were going, but I don't, you know, I mean, it's not contentious, there's no reason, but I'll leave that to the group.
Anything final on downs, anybody? Right, moving on to Gilbane. Let me just freeze this.
So we don't have the totals yet, is what you're saying, that will go on afterwards?
I do, they're just getting for that.
No, that's cool, that's cool, I'm glad.
They're mine.
Mrs.
Nobody
Spence.
can have them.
Well, I just don't want it to, we don't want to get in a situation where we're trying to get the number to be what we want it to
Exactly,
be, so.
exactly.
This is a better way to do it.
Totally about that.
Yep.
Hang on, I just want to freeze the. Alright. So then Gilbane, across the board. It might just be easier if we want to just go down the list if we have any other stuff, so Rich, anything you want to touch on?
Well, for Gilbane, I felt that they had a lot of very specific technology that they were looking at, and went through and broke down how that new technology was used within the construction process, and close monitoring of the project itself.
Mhm.
So that to me was something that I was very impressed with.
I second that. And then also they have the superintendent is in town, you know, that was something that I was like really surprised by. And, so there's a real invested interest there, and that he's actually here, and this is his community. But they chose to put someone, one of our residents, on the project.
See, I found a few of the companies went out of their way
Yeah, to note
that they had
mention it,
Cheshire
yeah.
people involved.
Yeah.
I also noticed in their footnotes at the bottom, they're related to other projects, to the Cheshire project. Like our experience here, then on the bottom, they say their time in the 2 schools at once. And also, there were 2 that did a sketch of what they thought the site would look like.
Mhm.
So, and like you had said, Rich, Megan, under technology, they're 4D and 5D, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but they seem to be more high-tech than some of the others.
The extra Ds are putting the right time and everything. Materials into their CAD.
I'll be honest with you though, as far as experience goes, it's not gonna, I'm gonna go with the flow here, but I'm just gonna say, one of these companies gives us a project manager with 1 year experience, and their project engineer only has 3 years experience, whereas these other companies have people with 20 plus, and I mean, that was by far the least amount of experience I saw in people, and that's cutting your teeth, stuff for me. I mean, those people, I think, they're working on some renovations, they're working on things, they're learning, they're not a savvy, experienced, dealt with all sorts of things, lots of battle wounds, and to me, that's just too young for what we've got going on. Especially Norton with the complexities going on there, having an existing school, but regardless, they are, these are significant projects, and that just seemed a little too inexperienced, especially for 1 year. That was my major thing on them.
And that's why I kind of gave that one a 3. I was higher across the board on everything, but I didn't notice that with the project engineers. They're only 3 or 4 years out, but I see that all the time. So I wouldn't, that was a big deal with a construction firm. The experience part, not that it was an outlier. I thought it was interesting how they related some of their projects to Tecton. I think this is the kind of
Yeah.
Tecton. Highlight Tecton every chance they got, which is good. Good work together as a team.
Yeah, I really, so as someone who does not have a ton of experience on the construction side of things, I found their book the easiest to read and provide the most information to me about the process. I felt like I really understood what they were gonna do and why. So I rated it pretty highly, or slightly above average, trying not to let grade inflation happen. Yeah, definitely on my list.
Of all of the companies, they're the most corporate.
That's true. Really good. You can tell by the red button.
Yeah.
They've out of marketing.
Definitely.
Anything else on Gilbane? Everybody good? Okay. Seeing none. Moving on to the Morganti.
Just keeping with the same notes I had before, I'll stick with this. Their experience, it seemed like it wasn't just a couple of outliers. It seemed like most people in their 5 or 6 years experience for a significant amount, just seemed significantly less than what I would want or what I saw on some of the others. And in my experience, which isn't as great as maybe some others, but I've always found that when you get that person who's just been through it, they really seem to know what they're talking about and can corral the difficulties and very quickly come to resolution and take charge. Well, I think that's difficult for somebody with just a few years' experience to understand.
Recognized a lot of the faces from the owner's rep book that they submitted to us. They were some of the same people. I don't
Yeah,
know if
they're
that's a
not gonna
good
get
thing or a
both.
bad thing, but I mean, if they were to get owner's rep, could they do that too?
Well, that's an interesting thing, so we wouldn't want.
Right?
Have we
Yeah.
voted on or discussed that, or is there a town?
We haven't voted on or
Yeah.
discussed it, but I think by the very nature of the positions, you wouldn't want to give those to the
Right.
same
It's a
company.
conflict, it's a
Yeah.
conflict of
It
interest,
is.
that's right.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, then just don't get all on owner's rep at all, save the money.
You know, I gave them the 5 in quality management. What I liked is they had a separate page on securing the work site and a separate whole section on worker safety. You know, they seem to value that more than some of the others.
Their team format wasn't too far off the average there, but I wasn't crazy about the amount of stuff that they have, sub-consultants to hit the schedule. And, you know, their safety was sub-consultant as well, so I'm just not crazy about the other things before.
I can't recall, were they the ones who were going outside for some of the services
Yes,
that
they
were,
have.
that the other companies had in Sherman?
Correct, yeah, I mean, they go out, they outsource or use sub-consultant for their modeling as well, so that's, I guess, because of the size of them maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing, but,
That's not necessarily a bad thing, I believe that's probably a better thing.
okay. That's why I didn't grade them down because of that, but I did feel that, you know, that was different from most of the others.
Contractors will chunky fingers as well.
Any more on, the Morganti group? But-
Oh, as an outlier for the project approach, I didn't see anything project specific, and I thought that's what we had asked for.
Yeah, some of them went into a great deal, not a great deal, but went into some detail.
At least
Showing
acknowledge.
maps, showing, you know, here's what
Right.
we'd have to look at with this site versus that site. Some of them just had something very generic there.
Yeah, this seemed like print off the project approach bullet list and we'll put it in.
Exactly.
And which would be
that's
fine,
it, Jeff.
but I believe we had specifically asked, so.
So, I just noted that I found several formatting and typos errors in this report, which I did wrong.
Oh. Yeah, I found one too. Misspelled the wrong name.
And there's some hanging, spacing errors.
Jeff, go ahead.
I just wanted to weigh in on one issue, which is the importance of the prospective construction manager's level and breadth of experience with OSC.
Yeah, you
Hold
muted
on,
him.
hold on, hold on, we got muted.
Hang on, we lost
There
you.
we go.
Vince was fixing it.
You didn't hear me at all?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
good to go.
Yeah.
We lost you at, construction manager.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that I'm sure you all looked at this when you reviewed the statements of qualifications, but a very important criteria in the RFQ is experience with OSCGR. And, you know, 50% of the money on this project is coming from a state grant administered by OSCGR. So when you're looking at each statement of qualifications, you really should be looking to see, you know, what recent experience, even if it's the last 10 years, that these prospective CMs have had with OSCGR. OSCGR is in a state of flux. The new executive director resigned after 4 months. The ability to pick up the phone and call people at OSCGR and talk to people that the construction manager has relationships with on various issues that come up during the design and construction phase is important. So I would ask that when you're looking at these statements of qualifications, you do pay attention to the dates of some of these projects. You know, if you look at any of the statements of qualifications, they provide you with their role on the project, whether it's an owner's rep or a CM, and the dates that the projects were completed. And there's a big difference between having projects that were completed in the last few years versus projects that were completed more than 10 years ago. So I'm sure you paid attention to that, but I just wanted to weigh in that let's not lose track of the importance of recent experience with OSCGR.
Got it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Right. on Morganti Group. Good? All right. ONG Industries had the fewest outliers. So that's general agreement across the board, but I don't know if there's anything Jeff obviously can't touch on. These two were just slightly higher than the outlier limit there, so.
I thought there was a great deal of detail in their write-up that I didn't find in some of the others.
Right, I noticed that a section on long lead items that will require advanced planning, so it looked like there was a little more depth than some of the others did.
Yeah.
And they've done quite a bit of work with that.
What Jeff has just pointed out is they've had a number of recent projects. And, you know, we visited Brookfield.
Yeah.
And, I think they also do,
They were going to, we went to a slam, what was it?
Oxford Mills.
The one that was under,
No, they were at the other one.
Did they do slam?
the one that was under construction that we walked
They
through.
did both
That
of
was
them
an area.
that we visited.
Oh, they did
Right,
both.
yeah,
I know they
but-
did the one that was under construction.
Yeah.
They also did
They
Oxford.
did Oxford.
Oh, they did Oxford
Yeah.
too? Oh, right, there's a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he went out of his way to tell us before we left
Right.
Brookfield.
That's right.
Well, Brookfield, yeah, the construction manager from LNG was at
Yeah.
the walkthrough.
Yeah. Again, I really appreciated their report. Again, someone without a ton of construction experience, I felt like I really understood what they were talking about and why they were doing what they were proposing, why they wanted to do what they were proposing. There it is. That's good.
Their experience across the board with the key personnel was like 30 years, 30+ years, 40 years. So they're,
Right.
guys have been around a
Yeah,
while.
not too many people leave from there.
That to me said a lot also. So it was, yeah, because some of them just said experience, others said experience with the firm. And, you know, somebody's been there for 20 years, 25 years, whatever, it also says something to
It does.
me, right? You know, it's continuity, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Right. They good on ONG? Not what I'm doing, seriously. And finally, the William Turner Contracting Company.
I know this is a picky point, but I had the impression I was reading elementary school paper.
The font bothered me. I literally took a picture of it and I sent it to my manager, and we put these books together all the time for our construction company, and I just, it was so hard to read that font. I mean, I know that's not, like,
See, I
that
found
doesn't
this was
say
the last
value.
one that I got to.
Yes, it
And
was.
after reading all this, 8-point type, I said, wow, this is gonna be a nice, easy read. And so, my first impression was, gee, this is nice. Then I went back and said, there's not a lot of meat here. Because they
Very
used this
generic.
big font, and they didn't really have nearly the detail that I thought that they should.
To what Jeff had mentioned before, and I don't have it in front of me, but I do notice that they have a lot of Yale work.
Yes.
I've worked with them in the past, they do a good job, but that's not public bid work. The consequences of doing a bad job there is if you lose a career, because you're gonna lose how many millions of dollars of future work. You screw up a state school job, that doesn't mean you're gonna lose any other work. They also had a lot of, if I remember right, these are the ones who had a bunch in Maryland, right?
Yeah, they don't have a lot of.
So
Connecticut.
there wasn't a lot of Connecticut public school work, which goes to that experience that Jeff was just talking about with the state.
So I was an outlier on chief foreman. It was the one place that I felt that they did go to chief foreman. detail and talk to them, you know, about different specific ideas that they have. Overall, I mean, you know, judge the material that well. In fact, that is an outlier in quality management I had there.
It's not really, these ones really move that far outside the syllabus related for these, so.
Yeah.
Really not looking at files. Sean had 5 in like 3 different categories where like, the average is all low for these, so I'd be interested in what he saw there, but.
I think the overall is gonna be telling too, because, like I said, I know the way I did it was, a 3 was, well, do you have adequate experience that we asked for? Yeah, is it glowing? No, but somebody else might think fear, well, even though you met it, it's, you're better than fear, because I think you did it. So, you
That's kinda
know,
why
we
we
all
talked
have a
through those,
bar
so
in
we
a
can-
certain spot, you know?
You know, if somebody's bar for 5 was, you know, they were good enough, but that's the time you would adjust that to kind of
I mean,
Right.
come back down, so.
I approached it in that way, like 3 is like, they can do the job.
Yes,
They can do the job.
Yeah, the next standard.
Yeah.
We asked a certain question, answered that question.
Yep.
Adequately. Which actually, for me, the way I think that's good, because that gives me room to.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
All right, is there anything else you wanted to add on Wayne Turner or otherwise? Good?
Good.
So what we can do then is finalize the,
So we're in infinity here.
to finalize then, if everybody wants to, if you don't wanna change anything, that's fine, just let me know. If you wanna change them, go ahead and change them now, and then I'll update the scores, and we can look at the total of the averages, and then just kinda make a discussion on who we want to proceed for.
Say the numbers out there.
Same.
I'm staying with my numbers,
Same.
I'm fine.
Wow.
We're getting good at this.
I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah.
7 or 8 more schools, we're gonna be efficient as can be.
We'll build it in 1 year.
Time to punch this out.
So please, no more spreadsheets.
All right. Just share with Jeff again so we can see. Sorry, Jeff.
No worries.
So just going based on, we're keeping, I kept everything as like an equal weight, right? So the average overall in all the categories for downs is 356. Gilbane was 379. Morganti was 331. ONG was 406. And then the Whiting, Turner was 319. So overall, I mean, as you saw with the variance scores, everybody had pretty favorable things on ONG at 406. Second would have been Gilbane at 379. And then it's 356 for Downs, 331 Morganti, and 319 Whiting Turner. So now we would just need to decide how many we want to shortlist off of that. And the easiest one to start with would be ONG, considering we all have them as the favorite. So I would make a motion to accept ONG as a, to shortlist ONG for an RFP.
I'll
Second on that? Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Who seconded you?
You did. I understand.
The number 2 was Gilbane.
Number 2 was Gilbane, so can we make a motion for that, or if
I'll
there's
make a
any
motion
discussion?
with Gilbane.
There's a motion for Gilbane,
I'll second it.
seconded. Got all that, Rob?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Unanimous? I assume we want to bring more than 2 companies in.
Yeah.
That's-
I would make a motion for Gallons with the third rank.
I would second that.
Okay, we'll move to seconded. Do we have any discussion on towns for bringing them in from RFP? No? Then all those in favor? And the fourth one was Morganti at 3.31. We do have an issue there, in that they have also put in for owner's rep, and they are coming to see us about that. I'm not, hey Jeff,
Yeah,
have you ever run into a situation where you've had the same company put in for both owner's rep and CM?
several times, yes, absolutely.
And how is that normally handled?
Well, you're gonna decide tonight whether they're on the short list for receiving an RFP. If they are on the short list for receiving an RFP, obviously they received an RFP for the owner's rep role. Well, you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna procure if you're gonna procure the owner's rep first, then if they come in and they are your favorite, and you award them the contract for the owner's rep, you're gonna have to tell them at that time that they're now no longer under consideration for the CM role.
Okay, and that's something that we could do.
Sure,
I mean, we don't have to tell them ahead of time, since you're in there for both. If you get the deal or the owner's rep, you must withdraw.
I think you should certainly tell them at the interview for the owner's rep that, hey, as you know, Lawrence Rosati, you submitted for the owner's rep and the CM role. You can't do both. They're not, remember how I told you because you were procuring the owner's rep before the CM, you would get some CM firms that would not submit for the owner's rep role?
Yeah,
Well, you only got one, and then they decided to submit for the CM role as well with pretty much the same key person, Lawrence Rosati. So you would tell them at the interview, look, you understand you're not gonna be eligible to receive both awards, so, what do you wanna do here?
yeah. Well, I would just want it up front. I wouldn't want to go through the
Yeah, of
process.
course.
Choose them as owner's rep and then have them say, no, we don't, we want to stay in for the CM. And if we get that, that's what we prefer. I mean,
No,
that
that's
puts
not-
us in a tough position.
Mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
one of
You want to, if they get the owner's rep, they have to take the owner's rep and then withdraw from the CM.
Yeah, yeah.
Just personally, I wasn't blown away by either of the remaining 2 proposals. And I feel like the top 3 were really quite good. So I'm not sure.
Let me raise the question regarding, we've talked about it for the architects and the owner's rep in terms of, is there an assumption that we will be hiring the same firm to do both construction projects? Or are we potentially looking at 2 different firms? If we're looking at 2 different firms and we're only interviewing 3.
That's
My opinion, for what it's worth, every one of these companies has an A team and they all have an F team. And you don't get both if we have 2 projects. So to not put all our eggs in one basket, I'm thinking this is a good contract with one for each school.
Yeah, it's not something we have to decide right
Right.
now. But I do think if we're looking potentially at 2 different contractors, we probably want to bring in 4 rather than 3. Yeah, I don't know. What is your thought?
I don't think you bring in 4 just to have 4 if they're not gonna be able to prepare 4 equal. So, and going back to the idea of the pre-qual, I don't see the other two, based on the qualifications that they submitted, being able to provide an or equal to the three that we've already shortlisted, so.
What's the value percentage-wise of the fee?
35% would be on the fee that was already talked about.
So if we limit to 3 contractors who are basically of same caliber, we're gonna get 3 high prices. The more we have in the mix, the more the numbers are gonna be a little sharp.
As you're saying, because they'll know there's more competition.
Right.
Yeah, but if it's me against everybody in this room and I want it, I'm gonna price it accordingly. If it's me and just Chuck, I'm still gonna try and beat him and price it.
Yeah, but you know what his pricing happens, so.
I don't know that adding one contractor to the mix is gonna alter the prices that dramatically.
I do.
The problem is,
I disagree then.
yeah, but the downside of that though is, if we put somebody in the mix to is marginally acceptable, we might end up with them by default because they're not doing so well. And we don't think they're good enough based on this.
Nothing with Chuck did formulas. You saw what happened with the architects. The number didn't really change the ranking.
Yeah, but if
It's
you think the
also
number,
because they
but
went
if
in
you-
like,
but-
2% of each other.
but which is it? The numbers are gonna be really close, or they're only gonna be really close with 4, but if there's only 3, the numbers are gonna be all over the place.
Not all over the place. They will be really close, but they will be higher.
I think if you're going with 4, you're already basing it on the premise that you're gonna choose 2, which might not necessarily need to choose 2 different ones.
Well, that's a decision they have to make.
Yeah.
And part of that may.
But you're setting yourself up for that, to do that by having the 4.
You know, but part of that may also depend on the costs. You know, if we look at there's a substantial savings, that may be something we want to take into consideration. That's why we priced it the way we did, and the difference, not only the price of each building, but the price if they would get both buildings.
Dennis, though, brings up a very good point. It's how well your project goes depends, I'm almost gonna say more on the crew that's on site running that project. And, you know, I know I've seen, I'm sure he has, where you have, you know, one company, if that's your only experience with them, you may hate them or love them, but it's because they have person A and B working here, but C and D over there were, didn't know what they were doing. You know, we have projects, and they're not mine, but we have projects where that's the case, you know, it was wrapped up over here, but because they had these 2 people, man, they kept everything solid, no changeovers, whatever, there's surplus money. This one over here, it's, you know, I don't know who remembers the Keystone Cops, but it's that kind of a scenario where things are just, you know, everything is in disarray, and so it does, and the chances of us getting the same high caliber crew on both, you know.
Well, if you have one company, might they be moving crews back and forth? You're gonna have 2
Not the
fairly-
superintendent, not the person on site who's running it, they better not, no.
They're not gonna be driving back and forth.
And they're supposed to be, you know, supervising and watching the work and handling their subs and arguing about who needs more manpower and when we're doing this and who's not following safety. They're not gonna be able to do that to both at the same time.
Go ahead, Joe.
In terms of moving people around, my contract that I sent around, that template that's gonna go to whoever's getting the RFP, you'll see that it's a significantly edited A133 with a significantly edited A201. And so it's maybe a little hard to follow because of all the edits, but one of the requirements is that the team you select is the team. Unless an individual dies or leaves the company, they ain't going anywhere. So you'll control, if you pick a team, that's the team, unless you approve a replacement. If somebody dies or leaves the company, then you'll get resumes, and they'll interview that person. You'll decide whether the proposed PM or superintendent or project exec is adequate to fill that role. So, you know, they'll be locked in. They won't be able to move people around. And so if your concern is that, hey, you know, they're saying that this person's gonna work on this project only, then look, you know, they can, if they're working on both projects because that's what you agree to do, you hire one CM and you're okay with somebody working on both projects, then that is what it is. Don't worry about, you know, getting inexperienced people in lieu of the experienced people that come to an interview that you decide you want as your team. We'll deal with that contractually. Okay?
So just like the architects, then, they need to bring in two separate teams that, if they're looking to have both projects, they need to walk in the door with our interview and say, here's the team for this school, here's the team for that school.
Well, but isn't there overlap on the architect's team?
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
Not as a designer, but the rest of the
Yeah,
teams.
yeah. So, I mean, that's something, if you decide that you wanna go with, I don't think you'll be able to make that decision until you do the interviews.
But do we want, but I guess this comes up to, do we want to make sure they know that if they want both projects, they need to bring both teams? Because you're not going to have a site super that's going to handle both projects.
Put
Well,
that
we put in the RFP that everybody
We can
that-
put it in the RFP, so.
I think it's in there, yeah.
Okay, that'll say that if you want both, you need both, or each project.
We could just tell them what they have to bring to the interview.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna do that next after we make this decision. And I forwarded to you the documents that Jeff was talking about, the contracts and the other documents that go with it.
I know may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer on a lot of things, so forgive me here, but I just want to make sure I understand. So what we're saying is that however many people we invite to the interview, even if it's all 5, they're going to know that if they bring one team, their only option is one school. And if they want both teams, if they want both schools, then they have to bring in both teams. And
We're
it
gonna
has to
write
be-
the RFP after this, and we'll tell them, and that, note that in the RFP and the
You
interview.
have to bring in both teams so that we get a chance to see both teams and question both teams. We may want to have more time. I think we have 30 and 30, it's an hour rather than an hour and a half like we had with the other group.
So-
If you're going to have two separate teams there. So that's something we can get to when we get to the RFP. Question on the table is, do we want 3 firms, which we have already approved, or do we want to add Morganti to that and bring in 4 firms?
I'll move it just to bring it to a vote.
Right, Dennis moves that we approve Morganti. Second on that? No second? Okay, the decision is made. And, all right, so we're bringing in O&G, Downs, and Gilbane.
Is there a motion on lighting?
We made motions on all 3 of those.
Whiting.
Oh, on lighting?
We have a number 5.
We
So
can do
moved.
that if you wanna do that. Dennis made a move to bring in lighting. Second on that? There's no second on that. Okay.
No hard feelings.
All right, so now the next step is for us to go through the RFP. And that is scheduled to go out tomorrow if possible. Otherwise, beginning of next week.
I know Jeff is prepared to do that,
Prepared to send it out tomorrow?
subject to the committee agreeing
Yeah.
to it.
There's not a lot that I think has to be changed on it, but you have that document, Chuck?
Excuse me, Rich, I don't have the agenda in front of me, I apologize. But,
Yep.
As far as assigning people to call the references, I don't think we did that yet. Did we?
We have not in this case, and that
Should we do that after, or do you wanna do that now before we're still on the
Well,
topic?
while
of
Chuck's looking, we can do that. I'd love to have people doing reference calls who have a little background experience in the construction trades.
I'll take Gilbane, because one of the names of the references is somebody I know.
I
personally.
know, yeah, I know one of them too. Randy Dangle.
Oh, I'm a Kent.
Oh,
I grew up with Kent.
All right.
Kent Carney. So,
All right, so Chris, you're gonna call references on Gilbane.
do we have to, I mean, if somebody has a,
Maybe we should split it.
she's probably gonna get better info than I will from him.
Both call and.
Let's talk, and we'll split it up.
Coordinate
Okay, I
it.
can talk, yeah.
So we're gonna split
You're
up.
doing
Gilbane.
calls already on
Owner's
the
rep.
owner's rep.
Yeah.
But if you wanna call that one person that you know,
I
that's
can,
fine.
yeah, I can talk to Randy.
And share that with Chris.
Hey, Jeff, question for you. Since some of us do have some experience in the industry and, you know, some of them gave us a list, say, here's our references, but also when they gave relevant projects, they listed all sorts of other people's names and numbers, the architects and such. Are we restricted to just calling the people they said call as references? Or can
No, you can call anybody you want.
Okay, so I know several people then for Gilbane, so yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely
with the
wanna call.
architects, we often did not use the
Yeah.
names they gave us because we wanted people that were head of building committees, things like that.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so-
You're not limited to the projects that are in the proposal. If you know that there was another project that wasn't included, you know, those are important as well, right?
And you can call as many as you want. We were trying to say at least 3. But if you have more than that, that's great.
So is it, are we allowed to ask a town attorney that might have some experience with some of these contractors for that person's opinion? Or is that pretty much off limits?
I don't wanna
Hypothetically.
tip this- I don't wanna put my finger on the scale. I have too much experience with these 3 firms. I don't wanna influence the process.
That's fine.
I think all 3 of them are very good firms, I'll say that.
Okay, good. Great.
I can do that.
And O and G?
I don't have the I can do it, but I don't have the construction experience, so I'll defer if someone else wants to.
I would call them, but I know a lot of people at O&G, so I don't want it to sway the reporting on O&G.
It's up to you. I mean, I guess Chris knows some of the people.
Well, you're not pulling down.
Yeah, well, it's would be the
Trying to
project.
call people that they,
Yeah,
projects.
I could call them.
okay. And Chuck will.
When's that gotta be by?
Same as last time. When we're doing the interviews, then we will have your report out. And hopefully, we're just gonna hear wonderful things. But if you are doing the calling, if you find that there's something negative, you can attach it to a particular supervisor that was there, as you said, there's an A team and an F team.
Right.
We would want to know, you know, they may have had a bad experience someplace, but that's not somebody who's going to be, you know, involved with our project. So if you can kind of push that a little bit. All right, now,
When are those due? When are we, well, we're
That-
talking about the schedule now, I got you.
those will be due the day we do the interview.
Yeah, right, so we'll
Yeah,
talk about
and we
that.
haven't set up the schedule for the interview yet. We know what week it's supposed to take place, but we haven't decided on the exact schedule. Okay, moving right along. The green stuff is there just for Jeff Solon and Vince, so they know those are things that, because we have one for Norton, one for North End, those are things they have to change. So just ignore the green parts. So just going right down, Chuck. You get to the yellow there, it says 4 firms, we also want to change it to 3. You have editing rights, I hope?
Yeah, it's just like, what's that?
Is that
Oh, yeah,
from-
look at that.
Well, it's your-
Did you by attack. What they give you the model with limited memory?
And it just came up saying Chuck Nath on mine, so.
It's gonna happen.
Either that or it's the '96 Ford modem we've got using. for
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi.
Tell the mice to run faster.
That's really bad. Wow. I do it faster on my phone.
Give it a one book.
Oh, I don't want to.
It's race.
Jeff just. Actually, no, oh, there you go. It's locked up on mine too, maybe it's the internet.
Yeah, I just tried doing it on mine.
You better hang up the phone and pick it up.
It does show that both Chuck and Vince are trying to do something.
Trying valiantly, it's already
Quit the
done.
battle.
Yeah, I think something's wrong with the internet. I'm not getting anything on the speed test.
Hey, there you go.
Does
All
work.
right. So at this rate, we will be finished at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Thursday.
In that only paragraph,
We
there's a small
changed a
typo.
word.
Sure, where?
Next to bottom line, SCM, then the word for is repeated twice. One line up from there. Yeah. Sometimes it just jumps out at you.
Good eye.
Yeah.
So that's where a word will catch something.
Cast.
I don't know what, that's not yellow and that's not green. Boards and commissions as necessary.
It's yellow. It's not yellow?
It's a different yellow.
It's more of a tan color. But I haven't been told what the meaning of tan is.
That's a Costello question.
Other town of Cheshire boards and commissions as necessary.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, because planning and zoning or something like that, I mean, I'm,
Oh, it's a comment.
Yeah, it's because you commented it.
Oh, okay.
Selected respondent will be responsible to attend and present project updates and all stakeholders in the other time. I don't know why the comments there.
I think you leave it.
I don't know. Comment doesn't seem to be directly related to the highlighted section.
Looks like Jeff's comments are the questions that I had, that he's putting into some.
Oh, I'll bet that's it. He did say that in the.
Yes, yeah, so I think you left a comment there, and then he said he put it in like visible. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what it
Because
is.
both of those are questions I asked, and you scroll to the next one, and I'm like, ask that.
So he took your stuff and he's put it in here.
Put it as like side notes.
Yeah.
So those are questions I have.
This was your question, this is what he added. Or are you saying that you want it more than
I'm saying I asked what's for dinner, and that says blue.
Yeah, the two don't seem to go
Well,
together.
It doesn't answer. It's not related unless there's a misunderstanding.
We'll go down to the next one, see if those two may be connected somehow.
I think what you're saying up here though.
We talk about the
Chris, is
phases of the
like,
project.
The project will be comprised of 3 phases for breakdown, fee breakdown, design and pre-construction, procurement and construction. You're asking, should there be a closeout phase and a demo site phase for Norton, so like 5 phases right there.
The closeout phase is part of the construction phase. The construction manager has to hit 2 dates under the GMP amendment. One is substantial completion, one is final completion. Final completion is you've achieved closeout, so your closeout spec, as well as what's in the A201. Closeout is part of the construction phase.
So we're
In terms
covered.
of the demo, yeah, in terms of the demo, I mean, has a decision been made yet whether the CM for the project is gonna also, are you gonna need a CM for demo?
Yeah. Because they're gonna have to build the field,
Right.
Well, that's part of the construction phase then.
right?
So is
they're
that a
gonna
separate
charge-
phase?
part of the construction
No, that
phase,
should be the same
they're
thing.
gonna charge a CM fee as a percentage of the cost of the work, general conditions for staff time, and general requirements for reimbursables. It's all part of the construction phase.
Yep.
And that doesn't have to be put in here, that there is a demo is included?
No,
They can't build a project without demoing the school.
Marking it as a result. You satisfied?
That was answered.
In the second paragraph in this section, site is capitalized, but we don't define it as a, like, proper noun anywhere else. It's like that. Project or scope, we don't have that, for site.
Yeah,
I
I
think
wasn't
that's in
wondering
the
if it-
AIA 201,
Oh, the addendum?
the AIA document.
Or should we change the word?
Right.
Change the project.
Again, no, if it's defined
Familiarize
somewhere.
with the project. That's what,
Yeah,
things
definitely.
more.
Really,
I
the
think it should
design
just be
phase-
not capitalized site.
Yeah.
Should I do this as a,
What is it called?
should I end it then, or should I?
Yeah, just have it.
I don't think lowercase changes will be meaning of it. Maybe more words.
Good.
Fine to change
Yep.
it, that's good. Changing the word, I think, is good.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at the fee proposal. It's quite different from the fee proposal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure.
Are we gonna talk about the people proposal?
Yeah, when we're all done with the proposal.
I decided.
But when we're done with the interviews and we open and read those fee proposals, there's a lot of information that it's gonna take it. And we're supposed to come together like within a day or two after that to make our final determination.
Yeah.
So-
Chuck, did you take the next day off?
So we're gonna need to take a look at that as to how we're gonna use those numbers.
Another question of mine over there as well.
Liquidated damage clause for failure to meet the deadline. I think we talked with Jeff about that once before. Jeff, didn't we have a conversation about liquidated damages? And you had said that you wouldn't go that route?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of liquidated damages on elementary school projects. I think that you may drive the cost of the subcontractor's bids up. The number that owners tend to use is punitive, and the law in Connecticut is that liquidated damages cannot be a penalty, but rather have to be a pre-bid estimate of what costs would be incurred in the event that the project was delayed. So, you know, I don't know that any calculation has been done. Ordinarily, like I said, you see a lot of boilerplate, you know, nice round numbers, $1,000 a day, $1,500 a day. I got one project where it's $75,000 a day. And they tend to not be that enforceable because they don't represent actual damages or a reasonable estimate of actual damages. And like I said, they tend to scare the subs.
And in this case, the kids are
No.
already in schools.
Right.
If the project is delayed, you know, 6 months, what real expenses are to the town?
Yeah, I mean, ordinarily what you,
Well, because you now have to keep other schools open that you were gonna shut down, and you're paying utility bills for
I
that.
mean, if you do have costs,
But
you're
you
allowed
pay
to
them
cover
for the
actual
schools,
damages, so you back charge for the actual cost.
Sure you are.
No.
You're not gonna you're not gonna not turn utilities on. You're still gonna be paying electric at the new ones.
Contractors, right?
At the new schools, yeah, if we haven't taken ownership. We're not paying electric or heat on those buildings.
It'd be difficult to move anything that.
All right, so are we okay
We're still gonna pay a
Chris,
little more.
are we okay with this?
Of course.
All right.
Jeff, real quick, I thought with liquidated damages, they're like enforceable, that you can come up with a cost like you're saying, but you have to have some sort of like carrot on the other end if they did complete it on time or something. Is that not
Yeah.
true?
Yeah. No, there's no requirement that there be any savings clause or any cost savings sharing mechanism. There's just a requirement that if you have liquidated damages, they have to be a legitimate pre-bid estimate of the costs that the owner would incur if the substantial completion date was missed. And keep in mind, just because there's no liquidated damages doesn't mean that if they miss the date and you incur costs, that you're in any way limited from back charging them for those costs. So you're gonna have a performance bond from a surety, and you're also gonna have a contract balance. So if they're missing dates, then you just back charge the culpable party for that in a form of a deductive change order to the GMP.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
Absolutely, that's why I brought up the question, to get some expert info.
All right,
Thank you, Jeff.
The original schedule had us doing interviews on 24, 20, 25, 26. Those 3 days were set aside. I would recommend with 3 firms that we not try to do 3 in one night. And it might be good if things are complex that we have 2 the first night, 1 the second, and that gives us some time afterwards, instead of being here at 11 o'clock at night trying to go through pricing and things like that.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about the time form first?
Well, we can do, yeah, I mean, we
Like
talked
30
about
and 30 versus.
30 and 30 is, I think, kind of short, cut short. We have what, with the architects?
Is it an hour and a half?
That was 60 and 30, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 16 and 30 with the architects.
Are these guys gonna have as extensive a presentation now as the architects and the architects?
Well, that's why we had talked
Design
about
concepts.
30 and 30.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're gonna have 2 teams there, do you want more time to question the teams? It's up to the group here.
That's
I think you need longer time, you need 2 full teams, 2 separate presentations.
Give it 45 minutes.
I was gonna say 45.
45 and 30?
I think that should be more than enough. Yeah, I'm fine with that. 'Cause I don't think each
What days
team-
do we want to do it?
Monday's bad for me.
20 Tuesday the 25th and Wednesday the 26th? Does that work for everyone?
Don't count on me. 'Cause we're adopting the town budget, I think, on April 26th. That's also, we're scheduling Wednesday, 26th.
When are you all done on your
It's-
Mondays?
That's the last one, the 24th.
But you can work it around. I mean, this is just a busy time.
Okay.
Budget, so I can't be there.
25th, 26th?
Sean, we approved 3 different companies, O&G, Gilbane, and Downs. There was motions for the other 2, which were not seconded, and that is consistent with the score of the
25th and 26th.
So 25th and 26th?
Where I assume we'll vote for real.
We'll come out of executive session.
Well, that'll be our decision. We are talking about going to the town council on the 9th. Sean and I have been having conversations on that. So we actually have another week if we want to, instead of making our decision on the 27th, which would be just the next day, we want a week in between for Chuck to analyze thoroughly all of the information. then we could come together on the 4th. So we don't have to make the decision on the 27th.
I will
This is
not
too
be here
important.
the first 2 weeks of May,
Okay,
which I'm sure you guys.
I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll probably have an idea after we do the interviews and if we have a meeting on the 27th.
But that meeting on the 27th is our regular time at 7.
That's our regular meeting. Yeah.
Sorry, we have like an end of year thing at work.
What order do we want to bring in?
I think the highest score should be the long one with the second day.
Same as we did last time,
We went
highest scores
backwards
last.
last time,
Go
yeah.
back.
So we do Dawn's first, Gilbay second, and then ONG on the second evening.
To see it show up this year.
Oh, wow.
Count the backspaces.
We're having internet issues. I think the turtles in the north end have taken over.
They're right near that transmission line. Unfortunately.
We need to do the table.
Yeah.
And give us half hour in between, but
Yeah, I thought I just put that on there for discussion, but last time we were kind of like rushed for the one that was right after, so it was a little fun.
yeah, we need that time. We have to score, but we also want some conversation.
I'm not gonna have the bells,
What was that, Chris?
I'm not gonna have the bells, synced up with the meetings of last time.
No, the bells are not gonna work here.
The sirens will be there. Don't worry.
Unless you talk to the church and
That's a
see if you can
15-minute
change it.
interval.
We can start at 6:15. Good.
You need to say which one is on which date?
Yeah, you don't have the day on
Yeah.
which one is which.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just an assumption that ONG is the secondary, right?
Yeah, 'cause I don't care.
Ready for it?
I'm thinking it's not YouTube, I think it's Google. Yeah. If you wanna, wondering if you could just download it and then just edit it on the download and then you can just email it. Probably take half an hour to download.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello, friends.
Hey, Jeff.
I don't know why I
Somebody
put that
way
one.
more important has stolen my seat. Let's see.
She's a lot cuter than
Probably more effective. Probably more effective.
She's already designed two of the schools for us.
Sure, they're in crayon,
Well,
but they look
You're gonna
fantastic.
design elementary schools, who better to do it?
Right?
She's much less annoying, I'll tell you that.
Oh, boy.
Sits there
That's
quietly,
fair.
with the headphones on.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Yay.
So,
I got a text update
oh, you did,
from my
okay.
friend here
Oh,
who
all right,
told me about where we are.
okay.
Thank you.
So you didn't text them as soon as we said about it?
No.
I do those in person.
Yeah. He likes to splice together a nice video for me.
There's a YouTube channel right after.
What I didn't text you is that Google, for some reason, is slow as molasses.
Yeah. All right, we're good.
I see that. With Chuck just entering new codes.
Yeah.
Dragon.
Where do we want to put in about the two teams?
I think where it says after the tight time frame, the end of that, after the speaking role during the interview, just put another sentence. If you're playing at both schools, the two teams must present.
I was just looking to see if they had anything on there.
You could almost put it after that first bullet too, if you wanted.
You want to put it at the end of this sentence or in the end of the bullets?
Well, they're getting two invites, right?
They're getting two invites, we just want to make it
Right,
very
but
clear.
reinforce it
that
that
we want
both
two
teams have to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be considered for two schools.
Right,
you
both
need to
teams
provide it.
have to show up and present.
Chuck, I would suggest making it a separate bullet so it stands out.
I'll do it right on this.
Yes, there's the siren.
Sean, is that ambulance, please?
It's an ambulance.
What color is it?
It's a white Trinity ambulance.
You know these things? You can tell the
Yes.
sirens?
Oh, yeah.
Working on Route 10.
Yeah, my window
Says
fits.
it's too bad.
Route 10, they're up and down all the time.
Good job.
The fire truck just honks though.
I can tell you what time the bus stops, which I think
Yeah,
had
that's
it.
right.
Wait for it.
My screen just says if, and that's it, it never got to the rest of it.
No space after plan.
It's still saying just if.
No space. This big. Good.
Proposal vote. Should be hyphenated.
It doesn't have anything to do with there being multiple people in the document. Right? I know it usually doesn't, but
What's that?
it doesn't have anything to do with there being multiple people in the document, by any chance.
I'm out now.
I think even before, I mean, I can log out.
I mean, I know normally it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I've never seen, I don't think it's the internet, 'cause
We've
we
done
just
this-
finished a
Yeah,
2-hour Zoom call.
We've done this
Yeah.
many times before, we've never had this.
Maybe it was a Zoom call.
Good.
Want
Maybe
me
it
to
was our
close
Zoom
mine
call.
down? I don't think it'll have any.
I don't think it will either.
Can't hurt to try.
I'm down.
But it's your story.
Me?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm out. There's status there.
I would change should to must. Don't feel not.
And, you know, we change both to each.
Just want to make sure it's a good question. And then that whole piece, have the two, if you want to speak to.
Change
You
this.
already
Yeah,
put that
the
in?
second bullet, yeah.
Where? Because that's what we're doing right now. Hold on.
There's the part about if you want to submit two, it is in there.
That's in the fee part. This is for coming to the presentation.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is,
Yeah,
we're
that
saying
part
if
was-
the team members want to come, or if they're going to propose them both, we want the team members for both.
Oh, yeah,
teams.
okay.
The comment that was made earlier, you can get, you know, an A team and an F team. And we want to see both teams if we're going to potentially
Sure.
hire one firm.
Yeah.
to do both.
Everybody who's going to be working for us should be at the end.
Right. And Jeff made the point that, you know, they have to specifically delineate who those people are. And his comment was unless they die or leave the firm,
Right.
that's it, you know, they're with us.
Under which these projects here is all we capitalized.
I think these are capitalized, because that's without the other definition.
It's in the
Related
definition.
damages.
The definition is it's a new known school. Discuss your approach to project claims.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're
That
gonna
was
be chasing projects with capitalization throughout.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. Construction.
Okay, moving right along.
Oh, this is moving now.
Still on there.
Need a date for
One week prior.
That was a negative.
It's due on the 19th
Paper circulation.
of April, so therefore, 1 week prior would be the 12th of April. Yes, you do.
Is this the correct document to point out that there will or won't be a PLA, or no? Or is that to be discussed at some other
No,
time?
we said that that may be a question that you want to discuss with them. Once we,
Absolutely.
A week prior?
the 12th.
So the
April
12th,
12th.
April 12th, yeah.
The RFPs are due on the 19th. No, we, after we get a CM hired, then one of our conversations needs to be to go that route.
Because I had that as a question on the pricing sheet.
Because I didn't know if
Does
that
it
might
affect
affect
the
the
price?
pricing. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's fair, put it on there to ask them if it affects the pricing. That's why I was bringing it up.
Usually I get shot and spelled, but that's.
No way.
Dear Scott, look at me.
One.
They were gonna know if someone
I
always
had
had
a
council appointed.
slow
Um,
saloon.
Yeah, feel your pain.
I don't know, did Jeff,
Yeah.
notifying the respondent that they were chosen, was that done after the town council approved?
That, yeah, that gets done.
The day after the town council approved it.
And
So
Sean
town
sent,
council,
Scott,
yeah,
Sean sends out a letter.
So therefore it'd be the 10th.
That's the stipulation.
You know
It's a
it.
road project.
Proves it.
So the RFP goes out when?
Tomorrow.
It's gonna go tomorrow?
Jeff, our RFP. we-
We'll go out tomorrow. Yep, it goes out the day after we make the decision.
31st,
Good thing it's not
March
April
31st. My anniversary's on the 31st, and my brother-in-law every year, so it's an April Fool's Day. Yeah, that was the 19th. Envelopes will be open on the 26th. And it was 25th and 26th.
Do you want to reverse the order?
I was just gonna say, I think you should read the.
Yeah, if you're gonna misspell names and such, we can cut things out of order. Besides, it'll take another half hour to get those two things switched probably to Google, so.
What's the next date, sir?
Well, it's a little bit up to this group. Do you want it the very next day at our regular meeting? Deliberate and go through the scoring and make a choice? Do you want it a week in between?
Get
So
done.
it's either
Yeah, I don't see
27
any
or May
reason to
4th.
wait. I don't see any reason to wait.
Strike while
We'll
the
do it
iron's hot.
informally the 26th.
Well, last time, having that week in between gave us time to go through the financials. You know, if you rush, you may not have time to analyze the dollar figures. But, I mean, you know, I don't think we're necessarily held to that. If we met on the 22nd, we said, we're not ready, let's come back again. There's no reason we can't do that either.
It's tentatively established.
Or you put the week after, and if we do it the next day,
It's great, we're ahead of.
so what?
Ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
You can put whatever you want in there, you're in control. This doesn't bind you to anything.
On the 27th,
I don't wanna shatter that.
and then we'll make a decision. If we're not ready,
Maybe make a motion to push it a week.
Yeah.
The numbers look like they're gonna be a lot more complex than the.
Yeah, that's true.
town council's actually the 9th, not the 10th.
I just
So it
had,
says
yeah,
on
it just,
before.
it gave us a day's grace.
Yeah.
That's why I used that in the last one too.
She is so good. I can't believe she's sitting here all this time.
Does that not need to be different from the rest of the
Well,
document?
any of that stuff, we'll resolve, I download it, we put it in Word and fix all that.
Beautiful, thank you.
Chucky the
You can only ask so much of this guy.
That's fair, that is very fair.
Is that it? So anything else?
Yeah, there is something else at the end. There we go.
We can discuss
People
Scott.
hold the shape. Have the date in there.
Yeah, we did. That was the 19th. April 19th.
Three sets of, not 24. It's not concealed. Three different rounds.
That's
Of like,
What's this one you're looking for?
Just confirming, I mean, we've always used Sean, but just wanted to make sure.
And we will continue to use it.
I feel you.
2
It's through
o'clock.
the town of Cheshire, that's why it has to be shown.
2 o'clock, yeah, that's it, just making sure. You don't wanna change anything. 2 o'clock.
That's it?
Submitted by 2 p.m.
And that's all set. We wanted to bring up the,
Because usually, you're
Price.
usually out, but usually confused, so I wanted to make it. You manage.
I opened this right from my email, it'll be saved.
Yes. No, I saw it out there. If not, I remember everything you did.
yeah, okay.
April 19th, 2 p.m.
Your drive should be fun for the email.
smoke rings. Is in that design check 800?
You're good.
Remember that? I bought that was brand spanking new.
Yeah.
It still works. It's slow as molasses compared to what we can get today.
It still works after we printed the New York City Fence back on it. It's like a whole roll of paper. One of the greatest Christmas presents.
That was really good. Most of the fire department, the numbers going on that call.
It's the bugs in your butt.
When Chuck and I worked together at American Home Partners, we had this Christmas competition among the different departments, and we had different cubes, so Chuck was on the team. We created the New York City skyline using this giant plotter, right? Had like Rockefeller Center, the Empire State Building. We did the ice skating rink. Chuck was the Santa Claus, and I brought my smoke machine from home, right? My disco smoke machine, not thinking that it would set off the fire alarm, but it did. Oh, Cheshire Fire Department shows up.
Towering inferno, New York City bird to the ground.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't know that happened. But Jack Taslin, probably should remembers it.
Wish I had my own smoke machine. That sounds like it would come in handy for like.
Just let me know when you need to borrow it.
Apparently there's a lot of smoke on the streets.
I got two.
That's what we're going for.
We use it in convocation.
Yeah, we
Right,
did,
like,
actually.
now, the next school
We use
year.
it in convocation and other
That'd be great.
good times.
I'm gonna recommend that for our convocation.
How about for, opening the buildings?
Yeah.
Ribbon cutting,
I was
very
thinking,
medieval sort of feel to it.
Well, it won't-
Testing out fire
it's gotta be a
sprinkler.
relatively small
Yes.
space. I
What
mean,
about our gold shovel first dig into the ground, the groundbreaking?
It's gonna be
Gotta
a
go.
gold, that's fine.
Oh,
We used it when Jeff recreated the Back to the Future in one
oh,
convocation.
yeah.
So we had everything, he was in a small area, we opened the door, and the
Yeah.
smoke, and
With the
he
lights.
comes out.
That's
with
good.
the lights,
That was
and
fun.
really, it was a good effect.
We were coming back from,
Where'd you get a DeLorean?
from Richard Chevy. They didn't have a
It's
DeLorean,
been
but they had this
resource.
very like futuristic silver car.
Feast
And we used that, and we filmed right on the.
Yeah, I think so.
Jeff,
downtown
Yeah.
green.
the fee schedule is in that RFQ, RFP resources?
Yes.
I'm the one that says CMRFP.
Are you looking
Oh, no,
the
here.
RFP fee schedule?
Yes.
It would be in that folder, but,
there you go.
see the fee proposal, both.
Just went off fine.
I have a
Then
download,
they released the white from
Oh,
that.
they,
I have a downloaded version of
There we go.
Yeah, that I really didn't make any adjustments to. I added I only updated the one that was for one. I didn't update the one for both of them. And that one,
This is the same one.
okay. Yes, yeah, I had it as 2 o'clock. It's the boilerplate stuff to return to Sean's office by 2. As long as we're okay with that, I can do this, no problem.
Dennis, you want to look?
it. Yeah, Dennis.
In the fee proposal?
Yeah, and
Did
he had a
you want to look
question.
at something in the fee proposal?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Okay. In 7 to 10 minutes when it's loaded.
Yeah, get rid
So
of
when
it.
we read this on the night when we open, we've got an ABCD.
I-
Take care of that.
What if we download the doc, because it's a Word doc, make the changes locally, and then upload it back? I have it downloaded.
For the sake of
Yeah.
time.
I downloaded it.
that's what
I've had it.
Or if you just want to email it to me, I can take care of it tomorrow. Upload it.
Well, I
You gonna
think
do it?
Uploading it on here.
I'll let you take care of it.
I can do this, possibly.
If you just
Oh, no.
want to share that with.
Is that-
This document contains macros. Guess that's fine.
Here now.
Okay, so I'll,
In that second paragraph, can you go up 1 second?
Wait.
Oh, we
wanna plug my screen in and I can,
Yeah, just do it on the way.
yeah, I'll do that online.
Happily.
I'm like,
You may have to switch seats with me.
Okay.
Yeah, you can plug it here.
Oh, is there an HDMI there? I'll just
Well,
lift
reach
it.
goes the other side.
Make it.
Yeah, it's stable also from the future.
We're gonna make sure Tecton's technology consultant makes sure this works better in
Sorry,
conference
my
rooms at the school.
Coat just fell everywhere.
We've never run into this before.
I mean, Google's pretty reliable. Obviously, our students use it a lot every day.
Hundreds of them at a time.
Thousands. Yeah, every once in a while.
Is
Have
that
an
an
issue.
excuse for not
Okay.
having anyone?
In that second paragraph,
Yeah.
it says, any persons making another bid for the same contract, I think it's for the same contract,
Yeah,
line
Oh, here it
two.
is, yeah.
Any persons making another bid for the same contract.
I'm tracking changes, unless you don't want me to. Okay.
So the two
Dennis?
questions I have.
Yep.
One is, do we want to quantify ahead of time if there's a price differential if we have it together?
Jeff, did you hear that question?
No, it's a,
Good.
Should we clarify if there is a price differential in the fee proposal, if there is a PLA?
I mean, I hate to give anybody that idea. Cost of a CM.
Guys?
The CM fee would not change, the general requirements would not change. The question is, would the general change, would there be additional staff time in the event that there's a PLA? I mean, I'm not opposed to asking the question in an interview. I don't know that you want to give people the opportunity to say, yeah, we're gonna charge more, but I haven't seen it done that way, but I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, one concern, Jeff, would be that whichever way we go, the decision generates a change order that said, well, that's not the way we did it.
That's fair. That's a fair concern. I think maybe, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think if you add a sentence saying, you know, if the owner opts to utilize a project labor agreement, please advise as to whether there is an increase to your general conditions or any other component of your proposal.
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay, someone has to repeat it for me. Where are we gonna put it?
So I would put that after the table for the fees,
Okay,
so
so down.
next page. Right, oh, right between D and the above signatory. Yeah, it could be E.
Well, he wasn't asking for a separate fee though.
Okay, so let's just make it a bullet.
Yeah.
Okay, that was gonna say.
Should the owner decide to, utilize a PLA? Please, or actually, never mind the please.
Just joke.
Provide, let me just-
Jeff, can you say that sentence
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, that was a good sentence.
Yeah, in the event that the owner opts to utilize a project labor agreement, please indicate whether there is any impact to your proposal, whether it be general conditions or any other component.
Yeah, so that throws it back on them.
Right,
I think we should spell out PLA.
Yeah, is project labor agreement capitalized?
yeah, yes.
And it's, Yes. Should owners levy does it?
Want
No
to just read
thanks.
it aloud, we want to just read it aloud to Jeff, make sure we've got it covered?
Should the owner decide to utilize a project labor agreement, please indicate if there is any impact on your proposal, be that general conditions or any other component.
That's fine. I would replace the word should with if,
Ah, that is better.
so they don't get confused about whether we're asking for their opinion or not.
The owner decides to utilize a project labor agreement.
I would capitalize owner.
Capitalize owner.
Yeah, because we are, yeah.
Awesome.
There we go.
And then the same statement can go into the multiple project.
Right,
So this should be green. Is that the color we used for that?
yes.
Green text, oh no, well,
So you get the font color rather than the highlight.
You hit the grade, that's changed to a computer.
right, well, now it's green, and when you accept changes, you'll see that, I guess.
No, I think you're doing the wrong one.
Yeah.
Instead of the A, you need to
Should
do
be
a
the,
yellow is
where
there.
it says yellow.
There you go.
Oh. All right.
Very clean. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a little hard to read, so let's move on.
You'll figure it out.
My second item was to Sean's email, because a lot of construction managers wanna have a time-lapse photography. And we can get that for free from them if we put it in here. Rather than us hiring someone to do it.
Where would you put it?
I would put it in the table,
Down below?
yeah,
The very,
So, in here?
yeah, under, temporary services and, well, maybe not there. Temporary construction,
or security.
yeah, either one. Actually, security would probably make sense.
Yeah, okay.
But we want to have rights to it too, so we don't
Okay,
want
so
to.
like a new line,
Owner,
what are we gonna call that? Is this alphabetical?
we just call it live stream and time lapse
Yeah,
video. And then owner owned.
Time lapse.
Live stream. They all do the same.
You say video,
Video feed.
for off-project site. And that should be included in CMP.
It's a general requirement.
We need to put something in there that's not copyrighted, so that we have rights to it.
Site security is the CM's responsibility under general requirements. It's not, they don't get a fee on it.
Right. So where do we put the X?
I don't see what you're looking at.
The first column is called included in CM's general
Are you
conditions.
looking at the matrix? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at the fee matrix.
So it should be in that first
Which
step.
column would we put, the X in for where it's included in the cost? Is it included in the,
construction?
It's not
It's
pre-construction.
not pre-construction.
is it included in trade contractors' costs?
No, it would be in the fee.
Let me pull up my matrix here. Hold on a second.
That's my
Yeah.
Because the headings on the first page and the second page are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which fee
It
is
should be in the second column, direct costs to CM reimbursed by owner.
Do we want it reimbursed or do we want that for free?
They're not gonna give it to you for free.
They will if we ask.
I mean, if you put that in the included in CM fee column,
You're gonna pay double.
then you're gonna get a higher CM fee.
So you're gonna pay one way or the other.
Yeah,
You're
but
paying for it. It's an
we
ongoing.
get
it's what they're
50%
gonna do,
off
And this
if we
technology's
put it
been
in
around
that
for
column.
15 years. They're gonna give you access to a portal where you can, on your phone or your iPad or your laptop or your desktop, look and see what's going on at the site.
right,
But they pay for that. So, they're gonna put that field office security system, they're gonna put that in that line item.
yeah, my thinking is that if they pay for it, we get 50% off.
Yeah, good luck. No way you're getting somebody to carry that for 2 years without charging you for it somehow. And I think it's better off being transparent.
Okay. As long as it's in there.
Yeah, see, I'd rather get a CM fee of, 1.25% with direct reimbursement, in the thousands of dollars, rather than a CM fee of 1.35%. Say, yeah, we're giving you your live stream.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
No, no.
Anyone else? Any other issues, questions? If not, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So we need to approve that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't do that, did we? Actually, we should have a motion to approve the RFP for Norton School.
I'll make the
Right?
motion.
Good second.
Seconded by Dennis. Any just conversation? All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the RFP for New North End School.
So moved.
I'm getting nervous. Second?
Sure.
Second, Dennis. Any conversation on that? And all those in favor? And do we need to approve the cost proposals and that sort of thing?
That's
It's all-
embedded in-
It's all part of that.
embedded.
It's all part of that.
We haven't done that separately.
Yeah, okay. So we're all set.
I went to a summit today, Design for Freedom. It's about sustainability materials and also making sure that building materials are not only net zero, but also free of modern day labor, slavery. So child labor and how down supply chains these things are happening. So I'm gonna send out a mass email to all of you with a link to this place. This is in New Canaan.
You want a few minutes at the next meeting to?
Sure, gather my thoughts together. It was very overwhelming and emotional, but
Okay,
I
just
think it's
drop
something
me a
that
note,
we
the
should
topic,
like
and I'll put it on
look
the
at
next
since we're looking
agenda.
so much about sustainability. But this is something else that we should.
Okay, drop me a note as to the topic, and I'll put it on the
Alright.
next agenda.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, then I'll take a motion this time.
Motion to adjourn.
Chris, seconded?
Like,
Second. All those in favor?
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.